I haven't heard of many people enforcing patents on the industry. And so that either means people aren't infringing them or they're just like not really caring. And I'm curious for the audience, like, how should we think about patents? If we're creating a company and doing things, how deeply should we be out there investigating what patents are owned and not being used in the industry? Because like it is interesting to know, like, maybe we should be go out searching like all these alcohol companies and what have you and see, are they forging ahead and creating patents around things that they have no intention of using until far after legalization? And at that point, is there some sort of statute of limitations or something?
That is a phenomenal question. That's a really good question. I hadn't really thought about that. So there's an age limit on the patents, and they expire after roughly 30 years, I believe. That's
Hmm.
changed a bit over time. Certainly, my pre cannabis life, I lived in Silicon Valley and it was in the technology world. And obviously, patents play a huge role there. And anyone who's doing anything is looking at patents and infringing. And if you're doing a startup and you want to get VC money, and in cannabis, it's really hard to get funding. You can't go to the bank and get a loan. And so you're generally getting funding from, say, a VC, a venture
Hmm.
capitalist. And one of the key things that venture capitalists like, in especially in technology companies, if you're developing IP, is they want a patent. So there's a tendency to get patents. I will say that regardless of what industry you're in, the vast majority of patents never end up creating any value. And so
Hmm.
it's only maybe a couple of percent that even start to go down that licensing or development or value process. And even those, if you look at the patents being licensed, a lot of those never actually generate any money because the failure rate for startups is really high.
Hmm.
What you're doing is you're creating a fence with a patent. The idea that there hasn't been much litigation in cannabis has been interesting to me from the beginning, and that's patents or any other area. And I think the lawsuits are coming.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I think that when there's part of the problem is cannabis federally is still Schedule One. And so as far as the government's concerned, it's illegal. And they're actually, so the short answer is there have been a couple of lawsuits. And the first one I could find was 2017 or 18. There were like four suits that I could find that settled. These are patent
Mm.
infringement suits. So we don't really know anything about them. An area of formulation. One company was suing another company and they ended up going bankrupt before anything was resolved. And that happens a lot in cannabis.
I was gonna say that's probably not only the litigation effort, but why people don't have strong patent portfolios. So you used kind of the fence as an analogy just a minute ago, and also mentioned that there's a lot of like singular patents. And like when you think of patents and you get one, it's almost like you're putting a single fence post in the ground.
Yeah,
And without the portfolio work, you haven't created a fence until you have multiple, right?
out of post.
Um, yeah, you have one post, which is pretty easy to work around most of the time.